When did Google come out?
1998.
98.
And you started that in 2010?
2010, yeah, is when. Well, I didn't start the company in 2010. I really started getting into it in 2010. 2009, 2010, I was building websites and trying to like take what I was learning from podcasts, actually saying, well, to really understand this, I got to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
So you started SEO first with Launch.
Well, yeah. So I started SEO and then I created Launch, and Launch was just supposed to be an SEO company.
Were you doing that for fun? Because where were you working when you started that?
I was working. So I had started at I left my career at Ford, 10 years at Ford in 2008, and I went to work for car dealerships, which was like probably the hardest.
Work for a car dealership, or you were working as marketing for them?
No, I left Ford to be a general manager and a partner of car dealerships.
Got it.
So did that. Are we live now? Are we going? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got this like retainer in, so it's gonna like talk like I have a retainer in a little bit. But it's weird because there's this metal piece up there, and all of a sudden I'll just be talking, and it'll be like a piece of food I had from lunch pops out. And
I remember having that. Do you still have to turn the key?
Christ. Yeah. So they had me pause because I got this big gap now in my teeth, as you can see. So they put these braces on to like tighten it up. So that's weird. I'm like my late 40s and have braces, but whatever.
Yeah, who cares, right?
Yeah,
Anyway.
it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
It's probably more traumatizing when you're younger and people give a shit than when you're older.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't care now. Yeah. Well, I actually did it to like widen my jaw to be able to breathe better. I don't know if you've heard of this, but the way your jaw is, it really constricts or expands your nasal passages. So I've had congestion forever. So it's kind of like the best biohack ever.
Yeah.
And they did it in a way where I don't have to have jaw surgery. It's called a MARPE. So they put it in and they expand it. So they basically expanded my jaw. My congestion went away already.
That's
I had
crazy.
that third and fourth grade. I did it. Yeah. It was brutal.
Yeah, I know. As a kid, it's a lot easier. Now they have to screw like 8 screws.
Oh wow!
Get that metal plate in the roof of my mouth just to be able to.
So it was something that was impacting your life significantly for you to put screws in your mouth.
I mean, it was one of those things that I do high rocks and do a bunch of sports, and I run marathons. And then once I heard about this, the doctors would say you have deviated septum. You know, a lot of people have that, and I just met a good ENT once, and he said you should go see this orthodontist. I think your mouth is too small, so you could like clean it out. It's like he explained it. You can clean out a room, but unless the room gets bigger, it's going to get messy again. Yeah, and that made a lot of sense to me. So anyway, just went on this like path and started watching podcasts on jaw surgeries and all that. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So this was like the thing that you could do that's even better for you to open you up and have better breathing.
Like less invasive, but still involves a little bit of
way less invasive. Yeah. Jaw surgery, you're out for like a month.
Yeah, no thanks. Wired shut. You have to eat with the feeding tube.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Sorry, I know we're all over the place already. So
let's go back to.
This is really like Rogan style.
Yeah, it's great.
Let's go back to where you started. So you were at Ford for what, 15 years?
Yeah, I think like that story is probably the more compelling kind of start. I started at the Ford Chicago assembly plant. I found out I was going to be a father when I was going to be 19. I had a daughter when I was 20. The time I couldn't take care of myself even. I was living with my dad in Hegwish and the back of an apartment building that my grandfather owned, like on a futon mattress, honestly. Coincidentally, I was like blocks from where the Ford plant was, where a lot of my friends worked and their parents. Well, not really my friends. My friends' parents worked there. My girlfriend at the time, her parents, and just really kind of that was like the most successful people I know, like worked at this plant. Found out I was going to be a father, knew I needed a good job, was able to get an interview and start working at the Ford plant in Chicago, building the 1998 Ford Taurus in the trim department. And it was one of those things that after the first day or two, I'm like, there's no way I could do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
And what I heard and what I realized from everyone that I was talking to is Ford has a really good pension program. And that's, if you're there 30 years, you get this full pension. So the conversation around every break, around every lunch was, how much time do you have left? And it was what I coined it like the countdown.
Yeah.
Where everyone would talk about the countdown. It could be anywhere from like 28 years. So like I got 3 years left. And that's how people treated kind of their life, because it was such a good job.
Yeah. But kind of like a sentence also.
That's how I felt like it was. I was like, this is a great job. However, I at least need to get off this line. My dream, having not been around a lot of very successful people at that point in my life, I mean, successful is very contextual. The success that I saw at the time was like the supervisors at the plant and my buddy's dad, who was like a manager above the supervisors. And that was like the epitome of success. So as I was putting on the seatbelts and the B-pillars of these cars, they were like rolling down the assembly line really slowly. I was like, man, I could do something with this time. Because I had about 15 seconds to spare. Because the way the assembly line works, I don't know if you guys ever been to a plant, but just to explain it a little more, is the cars roll down almost like a slow treadmill, and you would grab your parts and then you go install them, and then you'd have to wait for the next car to come. And I say wait loosely because your first couple weeks there, you're not waiting for anything. You're what they call in the hole. You're like scrambling just to keep up. But eventually you get good at it, just like anything. I wasn't talented at it by any means. And then I had this time to spare, so I was like, well, why don't I roll in school? And I was going to school during the day, and then I would work at nights, and I would bring my textbooks in, and I would read 15 seconds at a time. And it turned out to be the best retention tool ever for an pre-social media ADHD brain like myself, that I could really retain 15 seconds worth of information, go back, be a human robot, and do it again. And that repetitive nature taught me a ton about life. Mm-hmm. But it also allowed me the opportunity to graduate magna cum laude 5 years later by doing that consistently from St. Xavier University. Okay. So I graduated magna cum laude, and I wasn't the smartest kid at all. I wasn't great in academics, but I just developed this like retention method of 15 seconds at a time. I could learn a lot, and I didn't have anything else to do. You know, had there been social media or Instagram or feeds that would have controlled my mind a little bit more, I don't think I would be here talking to you guys, you know, since that was my time. People had like box TVs with antennas, and they would spend their time doing that, or newspapers, and I was like, I got to get out of this plant. So that's kind of the beginning of the story of like how I started. But then to piggyback off a point I said earlier, my dream was really constrained to my environment. And that's what I tell people a lot too, is like, you know, you don't know how big the world is or your potential if you're only, you know, if you're the fish in the fishbowl and that's the only thing that you see. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing that I did see is like, I'm like, I want to be George Hall. I want to be that supervisor, man. That's my dream. That would be, I want to walk around with that radio that he has and command these people on the line. I'm going to be him one day. And that was it, man. That was the height of my career aspirations, because that's the only thing I saw.
And how long did you spend on that line?
98 to 2004-ish.
It's a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
And what did you move up to after that? Because you were there for a while.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. Like once I graduated, I thought people were going to be like they're going to send an email out to all of Ford, like Joe graduated, and we got to give him something. And I realized quickly as I was approaching graduation, is no one gave a shit. Like no one cared, and that also taught me something about life, you know. And thank God I had these lessons when I was young. Is that no one does care for the most part. I mean, your parents care, but they're not going to help you get a job. It's really on you. So every break, every day, I would go and talk to these supervisors at the plant, and I would try to like convince them that I needed a chance to apply for a salary position at the plant, or I wanted to be George Hall. I'm like, how do I get that job? I want that job. I would even schedule meetings with the plant manager just to show him like marketing ideas I had, because I didn't know there was a separate whole marketing department. I mean, I knew generally, but I thought like the plant might have had something there, right?
Yeah.
So I would just do all these things, and then finally I got the opportunity to, which is a crazy story in itself, and to apply for a job in the marketing and sales division, which I technically couldn't even apply to. I found my way around applying for it because I didn't have a salary ID.
Find a way, right?
Yeah, so I found a way. I applied as an Asian guy named Willis Chin, and got a call and ended up getting the job. Yeah.
You got to tell that story.
So one of the guys I would talk to and harass, I would say harass, because people would see me coming like during breaks and they're like, they don't want to talk to me about like my career aspirations anymore, you know? So this guy Willis sees this posting, and he was an engineer, 5'7" Asian dude, doesn't look anything like me. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm a 6'2" white guy. And Willis is like, Joe, come here. So he calls me over in excitement, and he shows me this job posting on this big box computer. You know, there's no flat screens there. It was all like, almost like MS-DOS or something.
What year is this?
This is like 2003,
It was like a terminal.
2004. Okay. So he shows me this job posting, and it's for this marketing and sales role. And I look at that, and I'm like, it was like speaking to me, like, oh my God, this is like a dream come true. Like, talk about something that rocked your world. Like, I'm like, Ford even has these jobs. I was so naive, you know? And he's like, yeah, man, you should apply for it. So I was run out of time. So the next break, I run back to his computer, look at the job again. I'm like, hey, can I use your computer and apply? He's like, go ahead. I start to put in all my information, and then it asked me before I could submit, what's your salary ID? And I didn't have one, so I couldn't submit it. So I start walking away, and I'm like super pissed off, man. I'm like, man, I did all this for nothing. Yeah, I started to like be so negative. Mm-hmm. And then I did something that changed my life. I turned around and I go, Willis, can I apply as you? Can I put your ID there? And he goes, sure, go ahead. And I put in his ID, hit submit, and I got a call. And then I had an opportunity to interview for this job, which no one at the plant, even the salary people, I don't think realized that there was a marketing and sales division in Downers Grove, which was like not even 40 minutes from the plant. Like, I think everyone thought it was in like Dearborn, you know? So I go interview for this job, and even the fact that I walked in this Ford corporate office, took an elevator, not an escalator, not wearing overalls, and in a plant environment, and I was able to like get to an office and talk to someone. And I just remember almost saying to the people, like, just give me this chance. I will not let you down. And I had no credentials except the fact that I grew up kind of in this plant, graduated school. So they saw the work ethic. It was clear. And just that chance that they gave me and ended up hiring me, which almost didn't happen because they didn't even know how to process a UAW hourly employee to a salary employee for Ford. So they didn't even know how to put my salary in there and all this stuff. So it almost fell apart like 20 different times. But the bottom line is, fate will find a way. I ended up getting the job, and I made the most of it. And I ended up winning Zone Manager of the Year like the next year. Not because I was better than anyone else, just because I worked so much harder than everyone, because I'm like, I'm not going back to that plant.
Right.
So you go and then start launch 9 or 10 years later.
Yeah, we can definitely fast forward. There was definitely, so I was at Ford for 10 years, left to run a car dealership for a few years, the worst time period ever in 2008. Ended up hitting like my rock bottom in life, I think in 2010, where I ended up having debilitating back pain from playing basketball when I was younger, and then working at the plant, and got to the point where I couldn't even walk in 2010, laying on my couch, contemplating like, what did I do with my life? I had this great job at Ford, left to become a car dealer. I was doing something I really didn't like at all. And
were you doing something similar in terms of like marketing at these car dealerships?
No,
or
I
what?
was like a partner. Like, I ran the whole dealership.
Okay.
So I left Ford to be a partner to get potential ownership into these car dealerships.
Yeah.
And I did that for a couple of reasons. One, at Ford, I was hitting kind of a ceiling where I was. Where They had me move to Detroit. I'd met my wife. Now my wife started to expose me to a lot more successful people. I started to see that, and then I was like, okay, well.
Yeah, that fish tank got a little bit bigger.
Yeah, the fish tank got bigger. Got my real estate license, started selling that on the side when I was at Ford, and then one thing led to another. Ford gave me an ultimatum saying you could sell real estate or you can be here at Ford, and I was like, well, I kind of want to do both. Like, I'm doing well at both, and had an opportunity to leave to like, hey, you want to own a car dealership?
Yeah, sounds good.
I call on car dealers. I was like, they're pretty successful. They're pretty rich. So that was just kind of where my mindset was. So left to do that, but it was the worst time ever to do it. Learned a lot about business, but ultimately started to see like this world of digital marketing emerge in automotive. And when I was a kid, kind of took me back to the time when I was like programming on Commodore 64s and just always loved that world. My brothers would be on computers. My brothers would be playing games, and I would be like writing 1,000 lines of code just to make a spaceship go back and forth, Just
That's super cool.
Just like being a nerd, and I was just always like that world. And then I heard of like these podcasts that would teach people about digital marketing and SEO and things like that. So SEO is search engine optimization, how to show up for things, just for the audience that doesn't know, like on Google. Now it's completely evolved to AI, but time it was just like, you put something in there. So what's the science behind showing up for it? So instead of talking about it, I was like, well, I want to learn how to do it. So then I was like, okay, well, I need to build a website. And thought about my time at Ford and how employees didn't really know the benefits they had of when they wanted to buy a car. Meaning you get like huge discounts.
Yeah, A-plan and all that.
A-plan, exactly. You get A-plan, so you get these big discounts. And Ford didn't do a good job explaining it. So I was like, I'll build a website called Ford Employee Plan. So I built a website, and literally within like a month and a half, I started to rank above Ford for anyone who typed in Ford Employee Plan.
They hit you up real quick.
Ford didn't hit me up.
No way.
But I would get 30,000, 40,000 visitors a month. And
That's insane.
And then after a few months, I was like, well, what happens if I put AdSense on there? So AdSense is a code you put on really any website. You can still do it today. And it basically allows Google to serve ads on your website. Well, anytime someone clicks on those ads, Google pays you. And then Google takes a markup, essentially, right? And that's how Google makes money, effectively, right? So I started doing that, and all of a sudden I started making like thousands of dollars of passive income from just this website because I ranked so well with all these terms. So I was like, man, I could do this for other people. And then on top of that, I would generate leads for these car dealers.
Yeah.
So then I started doing all that, and then it turned into creating a company with a couple people called Launch Digital Marketing, and that's all we intended to do is focus on SEO.
That's super cool.
And is that all Launch did? Or did you?
That's all Launch did for about a month. And then we had partnered with a gentleman named Mike Magnuson that owns Pinnacle Advertising. They did
Mike Magnuson. How do I know that name?
They do all the WeatherTech Super Bowl ads, and he's a great guy. And it was a time when he was looking for a digital marketing, like he wanted to expand in digital marketing, and actually had met my, at the time, business partner, and was contemplating hiring him because he knew him, and I was still working at the car dealerships, and we hit it off, and Mike wanted to build this digital division, and I said, well, I don't really want to work for anyone. I kind of want to do this ourselves, but if you want to partner, we could create a separate entity, and in exchange for us doing all the work, like you can refer us to your book of business, and his book of business was car dealers, so it like worked out great. And that was it. Like he gave me he didn't give it. He put in enough capital to give me and Matt, my co-founder, a computer, and I think we got like $5,000 for cover our salary or whatever it was for the first month, and that was it. And then started building this company, and then all of a sudden his agencies started catch wind that we had this digital arm here. So then they're like, oh, can you guys do websites? And I just didn't say no to things. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And they're like, can you do Facebook ads? This wasn't even like really, people weren't even doing Facebook ads there. Can you do social media content for us? Can you do this and that? So fast forward a year later, we're doing video production. We're doing a ton of SEO, content creation. We're doing websites.
For anybody?
Were you building them off of like a template, or were you like writing the code?
We used WordPress early on, and so we would write a lot of code, but we were doing that.
Yeah, something to build off of.
Yeah, and then so we just offered like this whole spectrum of services, and then throughout that is when the idea of the next company came to be.
For Dealer Inspire.
Dealer Inspire.
Launch, or you were just working for anybody?
We were primarily auto dealers. So when I say we built websites, it was more like simple like landing pages for them. But we would work with like lawyers. We'd build their websites, doctors. The gamut of clients we had, the spectrum was like insane. Like
all over the map.
There was people that had sex toy websites to really big attorneys to medical associations. So we just like had all this crazy business because the agency was bringing in that stuff. I did consulting briefly for WeatherTech at the time, like went in and looked at their analytics, and it was like just a lot of that kind of wild west of whatever comes at us, we'll figure it out. And then that company started growing, and then ended up creating it in Naperville, Illinois, because I would drop my kids off every day at my in-laws who lived in Naperville. We didn't have an office, so I went to the public library and put my name on the quiet room and started to like interview people in there,
Yeah.
And I don't know how people said yes to the jobs, but we hired a bunch of people out of that quiet room in Naperville.
That's awesome. So people don't realize that people that don't start businesses, that aren't in business, don't understand how hard it is. So you tell this story and it sounds like, oh, everything's always peachy, everything's perfect. It's not. I can say there's struggles along the way. And Pat and I were talking this before, and he's like, you made a smart move, you started a business. And I'm like, sometimes I wish I didn't. Like it sucks sometimes, a lot of times, but you just weather the storm.
It's like eating glass.
Yeah.
And if you've heard that before,
yeah,
it's like that's what it's like every day. Yeah, It's like you have to deal with so much shit that you can't even fathom. And especially now, and I'm sure we'll get into it, now it's even way more different and complex in manufacturing than it was in software, because the problems aren't easy to fix.
Right.
Yeah, I think people who hear kind of stories like this, like, oh, everything was perfect. It was just paid for them. You just walked down the road and collected a bag of money. People don't realize all the struggles that come with it.
Well, just thinking that what I said loosely, like 5 years of going to school reading 15 seconds at a time, right? Like I say it now, nice that it was romantic, but it was brutal. I mean, 15 seconds at a time for 5 years for 8 to 10 hours a day at a Ford plant where there's no AC there. You can't even go to the bathroom without being like ridiculed, like literally, unless you're on break. Like you have to sprint, and it was madness.
I think Jeff, to your point, being a business owner, you kind of hear you hear the success story, but don't see all the kind of the shit in between, right? And I think one thing that successful business owners have is like this drive and this grit and this like kind of unwavering ability to like keep going, right? And I think like some people are just kind of born with that and some people aren't. And you made a comment when we started, like how you got to jump into the Ford plant and like what kind of instigated that. And it sounded like it was because of the birth of your daughter, but it sounds like you've had this drive in this work ethic even far before that. That might have just been kind of the Kickstarter to go. Like where did that come from? The drive and this mentality of like, I'm going to read. Cause like at the time when you were reading 15 seconds at a time, that wasn't something that you were doing necessarily for your daughter. This was just you wanting to just be better. So where did that come from?
I think a lot of it came from expanding the environment that I saw I had so much more potential than what I thought I had. Having grown up where I grew up, I was pretty successful just doing what I was doing. Like across like my spectrum of friends and everyone that I knew. Like I was probably in the top 10% of folks in a lot of different areas. And then when I started to see others, I started to build this like mentality of, if they can do it, like why can't I do that?
Yeah.
And then I felt like in my mind, more than anything, especially from being at the plant and trying so hard to get off that line, which really what drove me, I had this like almost like resentment built up, like I want to prove it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think was a driver.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm driven by folks that say I can't do something. Like I love it actually. It's like gasoline for me, because sometimes you need that gas. When someone says you can't do it, I'm just like, all right, watch this shit.
Right.
I felt like everyone kept saying that to me in my life, especially up to that point. So I think that's really what kind of did it. And then even creating, the agency and then a software company, I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? And I was like, okay, watch me.
Yeah, the discipline is like super impressive, right? Because you didn't have to do some of those things, and you had like this self-awareness early about like your environment, almost that others probably in that environment didn't have, which is pretty cool. So.
Well, you know what was great about it is the dots in life connect backwards. They don't connect forward.
Yeah.
And if I had went the regular route, like a lot of my peers did, I went to the 4-year college. I mean, I went to like Eastern Illinois for a half a semester, and I came back and got my girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah.
That whole situation made me grow up quickly. So I saw things that others don't get to see until they're much older.
Right.
When you say dots connect backwards, can you explain that?
If you just think about the story a bit, right? Like I never thought I would be here with a 20+ year career in automotive, like talking about my career in automotive. Like why did that happen? Well, I had a daughter and the only place I could work is the Ford plant. Well, then I had an opportunity from that Ford plant to propel my career into marketing. Well, then I learned enough marketing to be able to then get a job as a car dealer, which I learned business. And in business, I learned digital marketing, which was my passion, my love. And then I built a software company. So it all connects, right? But when you're going through it, none of it connects. None of it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, why the hell am I on this? Why am I on this assembly line?
Right.
No, I'm a guide runner for a double amputee, and he's an Army Ranger, lost his legs in Afghanistan. We've done 9 marathons together, and we go through battles every time we do one. There's always a story, always something. And he calls it like your making point, not your breaking point, right? And he says life happens for you, not to you. And then when you start to switch that mentality and you start to see these signs that are probably there for a reason, but at the time you think they're a detriment. Mm-hmm. And you start to look at things like, okay, well, why did this happen? And it sounds like a little woo-woo, but like you start to follow the signs of the universe a bit, and they'll take you places you never thought you'd go. And then you look back and you're like, well, of course that happened because I worked at the plant.
Right.
It makes so much sense now. It's logical.
Yeah, it's that hardening, that callousing, that like the callousing of your mind, and just like if everything was easy, the success at the end probably wouldn't be there. And I think that's like a very common theme with especially successful business owners. It's like the the cliche statement of like once you get knocked down, not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get back up, right? And
definitely, no, it's a lot of war stories there. But so you have launch, and then you start Dealer Inspire. How did that started with?
Those were in parallel, right?
Yeah, they were in parallel-ish. So launch was 2011. Dealer Inspire was 2013. Basically, what was happening is we started to get more and more car dealers as clients. Our service was to drive traffic, essentially website traffic to their websites. Well, we didn't control their websites.
Right.
Websites in the automotive industry were much more complex. You had inventory feeds. You had to work with OEMs. And then this dealer calls me in his office one day, Bob Watson of Family Hyundai. I like using names because the stories are real there.
Yeah.
So Bob calls me in his office, and we had been with him for about a year at this point. Like, he had been paying us services, a fee for SEO. And he goes, "Hey, Joe, I've been paying you X amount of money for this last year. Show me one customer who's purchased from your services." And at the time, I like turned on sales guy mode, and I was like, "Bob, we tripled your traffic. We doubled your leads." He goes, "Great, Joe. Show me one person. Give me one person's name that's bought from your services." And I did not have a good answer.
Right.
I kept going back to that. "Hey, Bob, we tripled your traffic." I go, "I don't have access to your website or your,
Right.
like, I can't show you that." And then it dawned on me. I was like, well, what if I could show them that? How powerful would that be?
Right.
No one was showing that stuff to car dealers. Like, no one was showing
Or
an
anybody.
ROI.
I mean, that's my biggest thing. You and I talked about it,
Yeah.
last week. I'm struggling to find someone that, I'll say, how much did you make me in ROI? How much did this make me? I spent $15,000 with you last month. How much did you make me?
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't have an answer. Did they make money? I don't know. I don't think so. I highly doubt it just based on our reports. But as a business owner, knowing
huge.
our ROI, yes, huge.
And car dealers, their average marketing spend can be between $50,000 to $100,000 a month. Like, and those are like medium-sized dealerships, so they're substantial.
Couldn't you do like a BVA around, okay, Mr. and Mrs. car dealership owner, if I could tell you that I could, on average, how many people do you have coming to your website today or coming into your dealership today? And they give you a number, right? Well, if I tell you that I could triple that, do you think that there would be a quantitative number that you could put to that to where you'd say it would drive more revenue? Wouldn't they say yes?
Well, they did say yes, and we did do that. But then they said,
Show me the data.
Who, right? And that's when I was like, well, there was a way. So I figured out the way. The way was, if you go to a car dealer's website today, or Jeff, your website, you submit a form on there typically, right? And that form has a lot of data behind it. So websites they're collecting a ton of data about you right now. Like,
Yep.
in this room, there's a ton of data being collected from devices that are connected. So a website's the same. A website works the same way. There's not to get too technical, but there's called a HTTP refer. And that refer has your IP address, a bunch of stuff, but also has an important referral website that you came from before you got to the thing like you're at and you're measuring. So in the case of Family Hyundai, there's a way that every website visitor we can see, and that's where Google Analytics gets referral data from.
Right.
See, like, okay, well, before that, they were on Google, right? I'm like, great. So my idea was, well, what if I just stored that information on your record? So then Jeff goes to the car dealer's website. You come from Google. I say, great, Jeff, here's his email. I know your email because you submitted a lead at some point in time. You came from Google. I'm going to store that. And I'm going to keep storing it every time you come back. And all of a sudden, you built up this kind of database of all Jeff's visits. So that's like part one. Part two was, okay, well, now every day I'm going to look at I'm going to look at the car dealership's accounting system and see, did anyone with Jeff's email purchase? And then once I find it, I marry those things together. And then I give weighted attribution and credit to all of the places that Jeff visited from. And imagine how valuable that data is.
Yeah.
And I created a patent on this called Rexam, which is a funny story in itself. We don't have to get into that. But so I created a patent on this, and that is the idea of like why we created the website. That and the other websites look like shit, and they didn't have any good tech. And me hadn't been a car dealer, dots connect backwards, been a car dealer, no tech, came from Ford. I'm like, I kind of know the psychology of what car dealers want.
Right.
So we could build tools and features within this website. And that's how it started. I also learned from podcasts that I needed to create a separate entity, needed to create a C corporation, needed to build in a different way than I built a marketing company for a lot of tax benefits and reasons. So I ended up doing that, created a separate cap table. Everything was separate. And then that's how the company started.
So you were doing podcasts before podcasts were like really a thing.
Listening.
You're listening.
Podcasts,
Yeah, like you're a consumer of podcasts before really it is what it is today.
So much from podcasts. This Week in Startups was a podcast I listened to hundreds of episodes. What
was it called?
This Week in Startups.
And we're talking
Jason Calcanis.
circa what years though?
2010 to 2013,
Right.
2014.
So kind of before it was like more mainstream trendy to be listening to podcasts, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of friends that listen to podcasts.
I think it's super cool.
I would just be like mowing my lawn, listening to podcasts. I go to the store. I'm like, this is before now. I'm cognizant of the fact that like, okay, I should connect with people. And, there's so many self-isolating things today that you kind of want to go to the store and not have your headphones in. But then I was like, put my headphones on and listen. And that's all I would do. And I ended up hiring the attorney that advertised on This Week in Startups. And it saved me tens of millions of dollars, honestly, by listening to the advice on the podcast and how we created the company when I sold it, which I'm sure we'll dive into. But it was really beneficial for me to learn that, and I did it all through podcasts.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So listen to this podcast, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just think it's awesome because it feels like just within the past, maybe 10 years, the podcasts have really taken off, maybe even less than that. So,
and the reason I started this was obviously for connecting the podcast called The Plug. And, the reason we started this, we try to connect people, and connect with people as well, help people out. And then I think I was talking to you the other day about, I haven't been to the store and I can't tell you how long was I talking to you about that? I haven't been to the store and I'm like, I need to get out and talk to a human being. I sit in my office and talk on the phone and have Zoom calls. I don't get out.
Maybe that's how I am.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's how I feel. My buddies listen to podcasts and they're like listening to a lot of like sports podcasts, which is kind of like, to each their own. But I'm like, man, I feel like if I'm going to dedicate the time to listen to something, I want to learn something. And it seems like that's kind of what you always like, kind of like your whole life is kind of you've been like this sponge, like this soaking up as much knowledge as you can possibly get.
Like people love to watch Sunday football, and I totally understand it. I was that guy. What I love? Like being in a corner building a landing page or an email. Like seriously, like it's so nerdy to say.
Say that again. Being
like,
in the where?
Like being in a corner and building a landing page or an email. Like last night I just built this Costco landing page and I was just like nerding out over it. Like that's what cool. I'm so I guess what I'm saying is like I'm just lucky to love that side of the world that happens to be a really good business to be in.
Right.
I'm so lucky for that because if I didn't like it, I would not be good at it. But I spend more time than most humans in that world because I like it so much. It's my Sunday football.
Yeah. And that's where you've been successful in the businesses that you had and the business that you have now that you with Go Brewing, and but you probably could be pretty successful with anything that you put your mind to. It seems that.
I think if it's something I like.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people can really kind of fall off the track, because if you're following someone and you're just not into it, the success I have, and I say it loosely because that word's so fleeting to me, I would never let anyone say I was successful in the last business until I sold it, because the reality is with business is like you're maybe not 48 hours away from losing it all, but you're not far.
Right.
Like you can lose all the things
that you
decision. Gained. Yeah, I mean, trust gets gained in drops and lost in buckets. And same with business. You can make the best decisions, and you make one bad one, and it's gone. I think I just got lucky in the sense that I really liked what I did, so I put in an ungodly amount of hours compared to anyone else. And those reps over time gave me a competitive advantage that I don't think people can compete with, because if they didn't like it, they'd be crazy to do it.
It's like working out. Consistency. That's the best drug you could take.
And I've just been able to outwork people. And the only thing I could attribute it to is not that I'm any better than anyone else. I just like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just do more of it.
Right.
Yeah. It just seems like it's carried with you with everything that you've done, right? And it's like you didn't love that. You didn't love that assembly line job at the Ford plant, right? But like you busted your ass and you figured out ways to fill time with things that made you better. So that's where I was kind of digging at a little bit, where I was like, what was it, maybe like the makeup of how you were raised, or if there was something that maybe like set you in this mindset that you're like, anything that gets put in front of me, whether I like it or don't,
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best fucking dude that does it.
Yeah, I think some of it is, I'm fortunate to have decent DNA. My great-grandfather was an inventor. He invented the hamburger patty machine.
Speaking of DNA,
Ray
you all
Kroc.
look the same, by the way.
Me and my brothers.
Your grandfather invented
The hamburger patty machine. So the machine that molds hamburgers, that takes ground beef and molds them. He invented it in 1939 in Calumet City. And him and Ray Kroc were partners and helped develop the fast food revolution because you needed to make hamburgers faster.
Yeah.
So I had some of his DNA. I'm fortunate. I think I had a lot of adversity too when I was younger. I stuttered to the point where it gave me a ton of anxiety. So I was always fighting against that because I knew I was smarter. I knew I was smarter than I was coming across.
Yeah.
You know, when you have someone that can't talk, and I'm saying this as I have a little lisp of what we were talking about because of my jaw stuff, but the perception is completely like deflated from reality, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like battling against that as a kid, and I remember like just almost going in the corner crying sometimes that I was things I couldn't control, and I would try everything to overcome it. And my great grandfather had that too. So I wonder if there's something there if I could go back and look at it. And then the adversity of like, okay, now I had a crazy high school. I had my own apartment for a brief period of time. The friends I had, like we were into a lot of bad things. So just had a lot of adversity young.
Yeah.
Which gave me such a great opportunity in life.
Yeah.
That our kids, unfortunately, don't get in the same way today.
I think that's it. I think for sure. I mean, not all it, but I think that there's for sure probably something there. So I appreciate you sharing that.
No problem.
So to backtrack to Dealer Inspire launch, you obviously exited Dealer Inspire launch at the same time. What did that look like? How did it come about for people who don't understand business? So let's explain it to a sixth grader.
Okay. So to explain it, Dealer Inspire, as I mentioned a few moments ago, was a separate entity, meaning I had to have separate funding for it. It was a more expensive venture. If you're building a service business, like you have a service business, yours probably a little bit different. You need some capital for equipment and things like that. When you're building a digital marketing company, it scales really well. Like you can do a lot of it yourself till you can't get enough clients. You hire someone. There's not a ton of infrastructure needed. Software, you need to get developers up front. So I built like pseudo the first iteration with help with a couple people of the website platform we had. And then very quickly, as soon as it started getting into like credit applications and things like that, I'm like, whoa, like
PCI
I didn't feel comfortable. Like people were giving, their socials there. I'm like, I would have used like jot forms or something. It would have been bad. So hired a developer early on, ended up becoming a partner in the business, a few other developers. So we had to like invest a lot. Well, I went to like 5 different car dealers and tried to pitch them on this idea that we're going to create this software called Dealer Inspire. And at the time there was many competitors in the space, and there still is today. And the competitors are massive, like the Cox Media Group, who owns the cable companies like out west, like they're one of them, like billion-dollar companies. And here's us thinking like we would be able to compete with them. But we had, like I said, like we had 2 things going for us. We had one, we didn't need to build any infrastructure on the ground. Everything was in the cloud. Which is a huge benefit. And the second thing is, in having this kind of new mindset, there's no tech debt going into this. So I knew I knew a ton about automotive, but I knew enough to be able to like have this idea conceptualized for this platform. So when I say platform, like Dealer Inspire's main thing is we made websites for car dealers. So if you go to like Fletcher Jones Mercedes, or you go to locally Riverview Ford, like .com, and today there's 6,000 of them across the U.S. But if you go to any of those websites, in the bottom you'll see made by Dealer Inspire. Well, there's a lot of technical stuff that needs to go into that. That's what I built. So 2013, pitched 5 car dealers. All of them said no, except this one crazy Canadian named Kevin Knight, who's just said yes wired me the money, and then I chased him for paperwork for like weeks. And I'm like, dude, you gotta sign this. It was a convertible note, meaning that for the people that don't know business, you're basically saying like, hey, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna ask for this loan, and in 2 years you can ask for it back, or at that point in time you can exchange it for equity. And that's what a convertible note is. It converts into equity at a later point in time. So he ended up being one of the only 5 people, gave $300,000. That year, I lost $300,000. This was 2013. And we were growing quickly. Fast forward to 2017, we were the number 39 fastest growing company in America. Collectively, I had about 260 employees. Both companies were doing about $40 million in revenue, not including any marketing spend, which is another 100+ million.
How many employees?
There was like close to 300.
Okay.
Really. And then
are you CEO?
I was the CEO the whole time of both companies.
Of both companies.
Yeah. So then we started to get recognition because we started to get on lists of the fastest growing companies. Cranes was one of them. So Cranes, we were number 5, I think, in 2017 of the fastest growing companies. And the funny thing is, it was the launch because Dealer Inspire was too young to qualify for it. So I sat up there, went to the Cranes Award thing, and knowing I had this other company that was even faster growing and more revenue, but launch
didn't meet
was
the
the
criteria or something.
Yeah. So then at that point in time, we started to attract a whole different set of clients. Still in automotive, but it was more of OEMs, like big manufacturers like Ford and GM. Well, the difference between those clients and car dealers is they have terms. And for those of you in business, you know exactly what this means. Meaning like they don't have to pay you right away. Well, I also had to front a lot of media spend. Before, car dealers would just give me their credit card and they would say, okay, we're going to spend $30,000 in Google. Here's my card. And they loved it because then they would get points. When you get an OEM deal, it didn't work like that. You had to front the $30,000 and you don't get points.
Right.
So, and then you bill the OEM. There's even like another company in the middle, but you all of a sudden start go from getting paid in like 15 to 30 days to 90 to 120.
Yeah, yeah.
So I needed capital. I was like the most successful broke company. We were profitable even, but we were growing so quickly that I was like, okay, I need to do something. So I got with an investment banker that was referred to. So after Cranes, like people wanted to have meetings with me and like, you know, everything from like Goldman Sachs to Chase, like they were meeting. And then I started to get hit by all these PE and VC companies, and finally I got an investment banker, and I said, okay, just give me a valuation. Well, at the same time this whole thing was going on, I got a call from the CEO of Cars.com who saw the Cranes article and wondered who we were, and asked his COO who we were, and he's like, yeah, they even have a company called Dealer Inspire. Well, at the time, Cars just went public, and they were looking at acquisitions, and they were actually searching all over the country for acquisitions, and here was one in their backyard, which is what the project or the deal was called. It was called Project Backyard. Oh, cool. Because that's what started the whole thing. So I met with the CEO, and then the chairman of the board came out, and there's a whole set of crazy things that happened there, but ultimately we ended up selling to Cars.com in February of 2018.
Both Dealer Inspire and Launch.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. So when they called me to say like, hey, we want to make an offer on the businesses, it was on my anniversary in 2017. I was in New York. I knew exactly where I was. My wife had just walked in the door of this hotel. Demi Lovato was walking out, and there's paparazzi everywhere, and I'm on the phone. And I'm like what's going on here, you know? And then they're like, hey, just want to let you know that we've decided like we want to purchase your company, you know? So excited. I'm like, what a great way to kick off your anniversary weekend.
Oh my gosh.
I go to hang up the phone, and I'm like, wait. I go,
which company?
Which, like both companies? They're like, yeah, both companies. I'm like, okay. So then that concluded. Then the real round of kind of diligence started. When you're selling to a public company, there's a lot of diligence.
For sure.
But I had always done things where the books were super clean and there was nothing like
Nothing hairy there.
there's nothing hairy there that I had to be like, oh my God, what was just all this? To the point where fast forward 3 months in diligence, they kept asking for like things, and I was like, guys, I'm spent. Here's my QuickBooks account. Just log into it. Get whatever you want. I don't even care.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's super cool, man. And now, you had made a comment earlier about because you did something with like a podcast that you listened to, because you split the businesses, it ended up saving you millions.
I'm so glad you asked me this question because I think this can help people.
Yeah.
There's something called QSBS. It stands for Qualified Small Business Stock. When you create a C corporation, and I will preface this by saying I'm not an attorney and I'm not an accountant.
Good call.
Or a financial advisor.
But you can chat GPT this.
You can look this up. You create a C corporation. If you hold stock in that C corporation for 5 years and you sell it, at the time, up to the first $10 million is tax-free from a federal and state level. So you have to have it for 5 years, though. Well, when I sold my company, it was 5 years and 18 days. Wow. If I was 2 weeks earlier, I wouldn't qualify. The government has since now had it, they changed it this last year, where now that number isn't 10 anymore, it's like 12.5 million. But now they have something, if you have it for, I think it's 3 years, that you qualify for half of it, which is awesome. So the reason why they do this is to incentivize people to build businesses. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of qualifying factors, like it's how you own the businesses and certain businesses that aren't eligible, none that we've talked about or none that you would think about, like hospitals and things like that. But like there's that ended up saving me a lot of money in taxes.
C Corp stands for, because I'm familiar more with probably S Corp. What's C Corp?
Corporation.
Just a different type of holdings.
Yeah. S Corp is like small corporation. C Corp is just corporation.
Okay.
Yeah. And
partnership.
Stupid question.
And your logical thinking would be like what I thought. Like, why would you want to be a C Corp? Double taxation, right?
Right.
Well, in a growing business that doesn't make a ton of money, that's not like something you worry about. Now, the negative to a C corporation is you don't get that pass-through tax losses or if you are making money, it does get passed to the entity. Everything gets passed to the entity. So if you're starting like a Go Brewing, for example, like having a C corp may or may not be the best thing because you're going to have a lot of losses initially that kind of get locked in the corporation. So you don't get the benefit as the owner, individual. As a K1. Exactly. You don't get a K1 anymore. So that's the way. That's the pro and con. So it has to be right for your business, not right for every business.
Right.
But for me, it was right.
And if you don't mind sharing, what did you end up selling Inspire Launch for? I mean, it's public knowledge, so.
Right.
It was over $205 million, and that includes the earn-out component. It was $165 cash, and then the rest was an earn-out.
And how long was your earn-out?
It was 3 years, but it was a little like convoluted a bit. Not convoluted. It had best intentions. Earn-outs always do, but they typically pan out, and that's why.
I was going to go into that. What did you think about earn-out? Would you do an earn-out again? And did it work out and everything went?
Well, I evolved my role at Cars into running M&A for Cars, and when we would purchase other businesses, because I was part of the team that did that, I was against earn-outs because they're so muddy, and then you have this like animosity, and like everything is rosy when you do a forecast. I never do a 5-year forecast on anything. You're sitting in front of them and all these analysts, and you're trying to come up with like these synergies and all the it's just kind of like nonsense. Like and maybe that's just my case, but I've not seen this pan out for many people. I'm just not bullish on that. I think it's more of like, if there's going to be something, it needs to be adjusted. And in my case, because of our growth and everything I said I would do as the CEO of both these companies, I did. And we ended up tripling our revenue and like by the time I left. And I felt really good about that. But that also showed the CEO there and the board and everyone else that I was a person of my word, and therefore,
In business, that's huge. If you do what you say you're going to do, that's more than enough and more than most people do.
my partners exited within a year. You know, they were like, I'm out. Like, they hated it, and I was still the CEO, and I wasn't doing fun things anymore. Like that was like everything we talked about, the fun stuff, like that went away. And it wasn't because of the acquisition. It was because the company was just too big. I mean, literally the time I left, I had 1,000 employees.
Yeah, it's a lot of employees.
1,000. So every day you wake up talking about eating glass and like dealing with shit. And we had, you know, now we have 6, 7, I don't even know how many clients there are now, like maybe 8,000 car dealers. The time there was, you know, 5,000. So you wake up every day and guess what happens? You're dealing with an issue.
Right.
You're not doing anything fun anymore.
Right.
And that was my life. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was like the way I explained it is like the oxygen's being sucked out of my atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I started to lose myself. And I didn't know why. Like, it was a slow burn. You know, it was like this weird feeling like I should be happy. I'm successful. I'm fucking working on the assembly line.
Yeah.
10 years prior. And now I'm sitting here like in this financial position that I couldn't even dream of. And yet I'm like sitting here depressed.
Right.
Oh, and with no one to talk to, because who can I talk to about this?
Right. Yeah, you are the guy.
You also have it's hard to connect with people that are not in that position that don't understand it, because some people will go like, well, you're the CEO. That's amazing. It's hard to connect with people that are eating glass. You don't get to hang out with them every day because they're busy running and eating glass and running all these companies.
Well, the problem too is you guys know, as a CEO, like, you have to put a facade on constantly. You cannot let people know.
No bad days.
If people knew what I was thinking, they would have quit like day one.
For sure.
Because every 5 seconds I have a fleeting thought of like, man, I made the worst decision I ever made by doing this. And like 3 seconds later, I'm like, I'm a genius. And then like 4 seconds later after that, I'm just like, why did I do that? And like, you can't expose this stuff, and you can't expose the stress of cash flow. You can't expose that. Is if I'm on the other end of that, I get it. If they're hearing that, they'll be like, this guy's crazy. Like, you can't. So there's
there's huge implications for a company, right? Like when
culture,
when that starts spreading, and it's like you've lost people. It's like not good. I'm in the startup space, not as like a founder, as a W-2 employee, but I'm in the software startup, like Series D now, but like kind of feeling that. And I can imagine what a CEO feels and not having that just run through them, and then us see it from just a visibility standpoint. It would be very detrimental for an entire org if that started to get passed down to everybody. So,
what company is it?
A company called ChainGuard. So we do software supply chain security. Okay. So like everything's pretty much built on top of open source, and open source has like inherent vulnerabilities. Yeah. So we provide like hardened container images or like language libraries, so that kind of like, I kind of use the analogy of like reactive medicine versus like preventive medicine, where it's like you go and get an MRI, scan your body tell you what's wrong with it, right? Like there's a lot of scanning tools now. I'm sure you've heard of Wiz, right? They just got purchased by Google for like $33 billion. And they're a scanning tool for scanning people's public clouds for all the workloads that are in there for any like vulnerabilities or malware or things like that, right? So they're like kind of telling you the problem after it's already there, where our solution prevents it from ever getting to that point, so that when they do scan it, they're kind of free and clear from any of those vulnerabilities.
Got it.
So you said that you knew how to code, or at least coded at a certain point. So I wasn't sure how relevant some of that stuff might have been for you.
I mean, now with AI, it's incredible, the stuff.
It's crazy.
I'll build stuff on the weekends that are just like things that would taken months, if not years.
Yeah, I mean, Josh now, when he does stuff, he'll have stuff done in 5 minutes. I'm like, how'd you do that so fast? Yeah. I'm like, it works already. So
yeah, it's wild.
What was your final day where you kind of woke up and was like, I'm moving on? So you sold your company. You still work there, and it probably was never just a day you woke up, but it was probably a slow transition out.
I remember the call I had to make. I don't know if it was in person, when I told the CEO that I need to do something different, he immediately said, "You want to go to Tahoe?" I fortunate enough to have a place in Tahoe, so we ended up going skiing together, and then we were chatting about it. And ultimately, what ended up happening is, they offered me a position where I didn't have to be the CEO of that company anymore. The company would get more integrated into the ecosystem of the parent company, and then I became the chief innovation officer. And I did that, and it was funny. My stipulation was, my ask was, "Man, I just don't want to have any more Zoom meetings. I can't stand seeing Greg." Greg was my COO, and he used to be on this beige fucking wall like nonstop. And I would like look at Greg in his border in his house. And I'm like, if I see Greg one more time in the Zoom meeting, and I'm like, "Greg, walk, man, get out and walk." I would try everything. I would do walking meetings with people. I'm like, I can't do this. And then the other thing was, I didn't want to have direct reports. I was like, I started to find one-on-ones very unproductive, and now I've grown to like really hate them. But I started to like see all these things that were just like counterintuitive to what I was taught of like, you should do these things. And they're like, "Well, what if you didn't have to have one-on-ones and have direct reports and didn't attend any Zoom meetings?" I'm like, "What would I do?" They're like, "We want your brain for innovation and to help us like acquire companies." And I said, "Okay, I'll try that for a year." So then,
sign me up there.
Then it became like way less work, and eventually that role kind of faded because, I was quite frankly getting paid more than I should have been at the time, and eventually like public companies every single quarter, you're looking at stuff and scrutinizing it, and I still have a connection to the team there, and it was just been incredible, and the relationship has been awesome, and mutually we both can say like we did what we said we were going to do, and I wouldn't trade selling that business to them for a second. The employees were in a much stronger foundation. They got paid more market. They had different career paths, and it just really gave people who were good a great opportunity to thrive. So it was like the best of both worlds. And so it wasn't a day I woke up. It was just like more of like, okay, I started to create Go Brewing, and I started to just get energized again. And then that's when I realized what I'd been missing, and that's the creation.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's funny that you met Jeff the other day, GNC Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
When you started creating Go, we had just built that GNC out for him. And you walked in like after it opened up, and walked in. I don't know what you walked in there for. And then Jeff was telling me, "Oh, there's a guy creating a brewing." Him and I just talk business all the time. He's like, "Yeah, there's a guy here that's creating a brewing company." I'm like, I thought it was one of the ones that was already over there existed. I'm like, "I think I've been there." He's like, "No, it's not created yet." So it's kind of funny, small world.
Mm-hmm.
So what the idea of Go Brewing? How did you come up with Go Brewing, and why? I mean. It seems like a unique story to go from dealer inspired to non-alcoholic beer.
So unique. So
you wake up one day and your wife said, "You're crazy."
Well, it was one of those where I was just searching for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I could clearly have like, I was so fortunate to be able to just retire if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is, that was never even a thought in my mind, not for 1 second. I'm like, there's no way that I could do that. So I started to just like think through ideas. Well, at Deal Inspire, I created this event called Refuel, and it was an event I had every year in December, and I brought out speakers, and I would fill Yellow Box Church, which is a church in the area here in the Chicagoland area. And I had people like David Goggins there, and like Tony Hawk, and like Jesse Itzler.
On the Naperville one here?
Yeah.
Really?
And I had all these folks. Yeah, I even did a workout with Goggins for my house, like that morning of the event in 2019.
How did that
go? Is he always on just 1,000% just going?
It was pretty crazy. Like, it was pretty wild. It was very, very like probably aligned with what you think it would be.
Yeah.
So just go on a tangent for a second. What I did is I had this amazing assistant, and every year in December or January, as soon as the event would be over, I would say, okay, next year I want to get Goggins as our keynote, or whoever. It was like I would place the event off the availability of the person I wanted. So then I was like, you got to reach out to Goggins, and his book just came out. He's not as popular as he was then. He was still popular,
right,
as he is now. So I was like, all right, reach out. So she reaches out to Goggins' agent, and he was available like December 14th, maybe 2019. And I was like, okay, book it. And then I would build other speakers around there and create a day of like getting everyone to this church. And the whole idea was bring my employees there to give them inspiration. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have 1,000 employees, so I would sell tickets for this conference I had, and then I'd give all the proceeds to like Loaves and Fishes. And so I raised like a bunch of money for Loaves and Fishes, and it started to get more and more popular. So anyway, after 5 years of doing this, having amazing speakers there, one thing drove me crazy is that people would sit there and be like, this was the best day of my life. And what would happen the next day?
Go back to their ways.
Go back to the way it was. Like nothing really changed. Some people ended up signing up for marathons and did some amazing stuff. But for the most part, life goes on. So I was like, well, what if I had an event where we started the day off with something hard and we call it Go? And I invited a guy named Rich Rollout, Jordan Burroughs, who's an Olympic wrestler, and we started this day with a 5K obstacle race. It was at the Polo Farms in Oswego. So
Arnmore?
Yeah, Arnmore.
John Green?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I created this like obstacle race around the fields and everything. And along the way, there was like these obstacles, and like Rich Roll ran it with us, and then afterwards, then people got to hear him speak. So, but people didn't know this was coming. I just said wear something comfortable. So they immediately started the day with like probably running like "fuck you, I hate you" to at the end of it, they were like, "I'm so glad I did that." After like an hour after,
right.
But then they got to hear as they were winding down, like me and Rich do a fireside chat, and then we did martial arts training. And then Jordan Burroughs spoke, and it was just like this incredible day. Well, at the end of it, I didn't want to give out beer. I wanted to give out something healthier. So I found non-alcoholic beer, and I was handing that out. And that's kind of when the idea started to emerge. And then other things started to fall into place. But really what gave me the most confidence is the fact that you could sell any beer online. And at the same time, I was struggling through drinking too much. I would binge drink more than I should. My dad died of alcoholism in 2006. My brother was on death's door. Like he was literally about to die, and it was putting him through a sobriety program and giving him a place to stay and just really like, trying to take care of him to preserve his life. So I just saw this like really big need, and the culmination of it all hit in the height of COVID. My wife and I did something called 75 Hard. If you've heard of that.
Yep.
75 days, there's a bunch of rules, but one of them is you can't drink. What I found is like, that's the hardest thing. It's harder to stop something than it is to start something. And I had been under this cloud of alcohol for pretty much my entire life since I was 15. At least drinking a couple times a week. And 2 to 3 weeks in this challenge of not drinking, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have superpowers. Like it was just this incredible feeling that I never felt. And I started to get this clarity. And all of a sudden, these wrinkles that were under my eyes started to like go away. And I was like, wow, my skin isn't as bad as I thought it was. And all these benefits started to happen. But I had these massive cravings for beer that I developed over decades of drinking. And the only thing that I felt helped was any beer. So then that was in my mind. I'm like, wow, I have that. Oh, you can sell this online too. In the history of beer, you can never sell beer online.
Right.
I'm like, I know how to do that. I love doing that.
Right.
So I didn't know anything about distribution. I didn't know how to make beer or anything.
Do something about SEO though.
Do something about SEO and do something about like, okay. And then probably the biggest thing is, man, having a product that can help other people.
Yeah.
Was so important for me. Like having car dealer websites was cool, but it didn't really help many people.
Right. Right.
So it was pretty neat to be able to like do that. And then when I thought about the white space of the business, it was all around storytelling. So all our beers have stories, meaning behind them. And I wanted them to stand for something. So that's kind of how it started.
That's super cool.
And now you have Assembly. We
have a few other brands that we're creating. So the thing.
These are really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, these are really good.
I gave them to some of my employees, and they're like, "You get us some more." I was gonna go grab some NA beer to have here for us, and I didn't realize it was closed today. So,
it's at every store around here. You're like way closer.
I was just gonna go to the brewery. I don't know what I was thinking. It's in 8,000 different stores. I should have just went to the store and bought it.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know where we're at, but that's it's
kind of its inception.
Talk about helping people. So do you still do refuel?
We haven't done it, but I've been getting the itch to bring it back.
I'll help you with it.
Okay.
I'll do it with you. Because the other day you had sent me an email. This was the first email I ever received from you. You didn't tell me you were sending me an email, and it said, "Hey, I have a group of people coming to meet," and it was a short video, and it was about mental health.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I don't know what this is about. I wasn't going to ask you. You invited me something. I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going. So show up to this event that is typically publicly speaking about it is a negative thing, mental health. People think it's just a negative space.
It's a weird word.
Yeah.
It's a weird phrase, right?
Yeah. And
it's kind of a broad stroke too, right? Like,
yeah.
It has like a connotation that can mean so many different things.
And
right.
It does, definitely. And first of all, thanks for inviting me to that, because that was,
thanks for coming.
I still think about it because so many people in my life go through it, whether it's me personally, or employees or family, friends of family, friends of friends, and you really don't know how to handle it. So like going to the event was awesome. Can you talk about it a little bit and what it is, what the program, are we able to talk about that a little bit?
We can talk about some of it, yes.
Yeah. I'll let you take from here.
Well,
the news, I was at a private event.
The news picked it up after, and I didn't know some of the stuff was supposed to be on the DL. So now I'm like extra cautious, but I could definitely talk about like in broad strokes. So the event was a screening of a movie, and it is about
a documentary,
and it is from a really
acclaimed
young author. I got involved. I had this gentleman on my podcast, Alex Benayan. At this point, it's many years ago. Right when I started this podcast called Not Almost There. It was like before COVID, and I had him on as a guest. And Alex wrote this book called The Third Door. He was like this 20-something, and his goal was to meet all the most successful people in the world, like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, like people like everyone wants to meet but can't, and hundreds of other people, maybe not hundreds, but like maybe the top 100 most influential, successful people on the planet. Mm-hmm. But he had no connections and no way to get a hold of anyone, like didn't even know where to start. So long story short, he had to figure out a way. So he talks about in his book called The Third Door. There's not a front door, there's not a back door, there's a Willis Chin door. There's a third door somewhere. And a lot of us get shut down in the front door and back door, and we just kind of give up. But there's another route. So he ended up being successful in meeting all these people, put a lot of the things in the book that he wrote about in terms of what made them successful, some of the things that they talked about, but also like how he was able to do it. That book ended up becoming a bestseller. He was the youngest bestseller in history of that type of book that he created, and had since then was struggling with some mental health stuff. So now he went on a similar journey, but in this time it was to interview the smartest people in the world around mental health, and started to work on this project. So I got wind of it. He asked me to be a part of it as a contributing producer, meaning that that I would just help out with it. And what I like about the whole idea is it doesn't just talk about the problems of mental health. It talks about what you can do about it, accessible things that you're able to do. So that is really what drew me to it. So when I had the opportunity to see the screening of it in a middle school in Chicago about a month ago at this point, I was mesmerized, and I was like, how do I bring this closer to home and show it to other people and get their take on it and see if we can start playing some offense here. Because the rate of suicide for folks is really high, and I have some family members that are struggling with some of this stuff right now. So myself more than anyone wanted to learn techniques, and it gives you that. I mean, this body of work really helps in a lot of different ways. So
did you get to see it?
Yeah, I got to see it. It was awesome.
So it's a documentary. And is it like a documentary of this guy basically like kind of like live interviewing these the top in experts in mental health and like getting their take on things that they can do? And is that kind of like the premise?
It is a documentary about an experience of folks that go through a few days of change in their life and like why it happened and things other people can do with it. And I'll talk to you offline about the rest of it.
100%. Yeah.
Because I was like, really, the last thing I would want is something to jeopardize this project.
Totally.
Everything.
Totally. And there's edits too that we can make on that.
Yeah, we can totally edit anything out. So.
Okay.
But still, we don't need to talk about it. But if there's anything that we have touched on,
and it's weird because like it's such a powerful body of work, and it does. I can talk about the acronym within this body of work. It's called CLAP, and this is basically the anecdotes that you can use that are free to help yourself and others that you know fight battles with mental health. And none of this is like, a silver bullet by any means.
Right.
And some of this stuff you're going to hear and you're going to be like, yeah, of course. And one of it we already mentioned, connecting. So C stands for connecting, not communicating. So the difference is, we could text each other all day. We can be on Snapchat, whatever. I watch my kids on Snapchat, and that's how they communicate. But connecting is this. It's sitting around, meeting people in person. It's not being in a grocery store, like I talked about, wearing headphones on, going to self-checkout. It's like connecting with people around you. So that's one.
Okay.
L is learning. Talked about that too today, right? It's like, how do you learn something, or how do you get fuel, like you learn something new? A is altruistic giving. So this is giving with the notion that you're not going to get anything in return. Certainly not like a one-for-one.
There's a book called The Giver. It's a red book.
I might have read that.
One of the very few books I've ever read in my life.
Really?
Along with the dad joke books up there and a couple other
Building
ones.
a Story Brand is incredible. Did I tell you about that book?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No.
Those are great books.
Yeah, those are probably the only books, along with the Lance Armstrong book and The Giver, that I've read. That's it.
So altruistic giving, but again in a way where you're not doing it in a way where you're going to get something in return. It's not like I'm helping you with your moving out of your apartment because I know one day you'll help me. It's not that. And then P is play. And this is something that I think we grew up in a different time where we did a lot of play and we did a lot of, like, we're outside. I was never inside. I was always with friends and outside playing sports and things like that. And sports is one thing, but it's like playing, just like being around people, having fun, smiling. That's really it. So these are really powerful things that you can do. And if you make them a part of your day or your week, it can really help.
Yeah. Technology has really unintentionally disconnected us, just pulled the plug. And people feel like they're still connected as they watch videos, and it's like a different world. I mean, you and I haven't seen each other in a few months, but I feel like
we pick up where we left off.
Yeah,
right?
because we text every day and talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. We're in group chats with other dudes, so it's like so you said something as you were explaining that. You said not almost there, and I've heard the story about that. Can you tell Pat about the not almost there?
So I had alluded to the guide runner that
the
double amputee. So I saw this gentleman speak in 2015.
This double amputee.
The double amputee.
Yeah.
I was at an automotive conference.
Yeah.
Again, DOS kind of backwards, right? And never at an automotive conference. Usually like all about automotive, like digital marketing,
right?
Or, you know, tech or whatever. There's a keynote speaker there, and he gets up and he doesn't have legs and flashes on the screen that he had done like 10 marathons, done an Ironman. I was watching a video of him bobbing with no legs in the ocean. And I'm sitting there with every excuse in the world that, well, I can't work out.
Right.
I left that event talking to my business partner and saying, let's run the Chicago Marathon this year. And we ended up signing up for the marathon and running it. Well, I trained a lot for it. Probably not enough, but a lot. And halfway through it, well, not quite halfway, I just had this feeling I'm like, this isn't that hard. I could do 2 of these.
Oh, really? It was like a runner's high?
Yeah, this runner's high, right? And at mile 13, I see this sign, and it says, not almost there. And every step after I saw that sign was harder. And that feeling I had just a half mile earlier went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it was
self-doubt.
The craziest thing because nothing changed except what I saw. And every step was like running in cement. Mile 20, I started to get cramps. And at mile 23, you're like in Chinatown now in the Chicago Marathon. I look behind me and there's like thousands of people behind me. I'm like, wow, I'm not last here. And I just kept pushing through. Finished with a horrible time, but I finished it. And I looked at that moment and I was like, what changed? It was all my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So ended up trying to dig into it and trying to find experts that have a lot to do with mindset and overcoming things, whether it's in health and fitness or in entrepreneurship. And I had them on a podcast. I would piggyback off my Refuel conference. So I was able to get like really good people on the podcast over the years and ask them questions, not dissimilar to how Alex was able to ask them questions in his book, The Third Door, you know,
mm-hmm.
to really try and dig into that. So that's how it was created.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, hearing that. I mean, working out with Casper, he just yelled, I felt like the same way. You feel like you're having a great workout and then someone says something. The next 45 minutes are the worst.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here now? You have the hydration drink, you have Go Brewing. We're gonna do a refuel event. I'm in. I'm seriously, if you want to do that, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to call it Go, because it's like that was the whole meaning behind this business, that we all have agency in our life, and sometimes we overthink things,
mm-hmm.
and you're never going to start anything unless you just go. Like,
yeah.
Think about do you have kids?
I do have 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you decide to have your first kid?
How did I decide to have?
There probably wasn't like a moment, right? You just you figured it out, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened at the hospital when you had to leave there the first time?
You just figure it out,
right? And when the nurse and they say bye to you and you put the baby in the car seat, what was your feelings?
It was like, they're letting me
exactly
take this baby home, and I'm
Yeah.
responsible for it living.
Yeah. And your kids are alive.
Two years ago, you couldn't take care of yourself.
Right. Yeah. You just figure it out.
You figure it out, right? But there was never like a time. There's never a perfect time. There's never anything. You just said go. Like, it's go time. Like, you got to do it, right? And you learn so much as a parent. I'm sure the second time you had a kid, you were more comfortable leaving the hospital.
For sure.
That's how life is, man. It's like, right? Like, there's never a perfect time. You got to figure shit out as you go. I don't know half the stuff I'm doing. You're faced with it, you figure it out, and you make the best of it. And that's what I'm doing now. It's like, I know that the goals I had this year that I hit, and I know I have goals for next year already, and I got to go after those.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead me to hopefully, my future goals. But like, I don't look at it as like, oh, I have a 5-year plan here. I'm like, I have a year plan.
Yeah.
I do it every year.
How do you figure out setting your goals? Like, what's that thought process like? 'Cause it's different, right? For me and you, and this for the listeners, for me and you, it's figure it out, right? I have guys that have bought me shirts that say FIO on them because I always say, I'm just going to figure it out or figure it out. It's kind of the mindset an entrepreneur has, right? Like when you and I owned a business, we'd go into business meetings, and I think I would say, or someone would ask us, can you do this? And I'd be like, yeah. And Pat would be like, how are we going to do it? I'm like, I don't know. We'll
Not dissimilar to, I don't know how to build a website, but I'm going to say that I do because I don't want to lose the opportunity for the bigger picture.
Right.
So what is that? Because I have goal setting things that I do. I do the micro things. I use the big ass calendar from Jesse Itzler.
I had Jesse at Refuel.
Did you? So I big follower of him, and so I use some of his stuff to help with kind of the micro goals and then the year goals. How do you handle the goal setting?
Now it's pretty different, and I say that because we have now financial milestones that we have to hit because we have investment in the company.
We're talking about Go.
To Go, yeah. Sorry, not personal right now. It's Go, because this is kind of what drives things. So now I look at it as like, okay, in order to raise a Series A, I need to have a run rate of X. Well, okay. In order to be a solvent company next year, I need to get more capital in at some point. So now I have a very clear goal of when I have to hit that run rate, and then I back into it from where we're at now. So it's actually like in a way really nice, and another way it's really scary because you have these goals and you're lining them up, and if you don't hit them, you're probably not going to achieve what you need to. And that's what I mean. Like success is
that quick,
fleeting, and it's that quick. Now, right now, I'm sitting here. We are the fastest growing non-alcoholic brewery in the nation. We're in 31 states in less than 3 years. We're in 8,000 locations. We just launched California and Texas. We're launching a Costco as we talk right now. Incredibly blessed for what we have. So it's making the most of what we currently have, but you have to grow. With beverages, especially, you have to sell a lot. So I look at it as like, what can I control? And I go after that. And then I look at it as like, let's place some other bets, which is why you see Assembly here. Which is why you saw Easy Man, which is a THC microdose drink.
Kind of like a platform play, right?
Exactly.
Not putting all your eggs
exactly
in.
Right it is. It's a platform because the biggest, the happiest mistake I made was creating my own manufacturing.
Right.
And I say that because it turns out almost all my competitors, they co-manufacture. They don't invest in the infrastructure.
Right. That's a huge differentiator.
Huge differentiator. So I was so naive going into this that I just was like, well, the only way to do this is to build your own brewery.
Yeah.
And the only way to like expand your brewery is to build another manufacturing facility. So I invested a lot of money in that. Well, now I invested money in it. Now the advantage that I have is speed to market.
Right.
I can have an idea. You guys can come up with an idea together. And within 1 month, I can have not only, I can have a website, I can have the can build, I could have a liquid, I can be testing it, and we could be going.
Go.
To do that and not having your manufacturing is really tough. So we do all our fulfillment, all our own everything.
Yeah, you're very much at the mercy of other people, which is not usually in the best interest of your own.
Yeah,
your own
I mean, you could get a call from a co-packer and say, "Man, we screwed up." Well, imagine, you think Costco cares? You think a retailer cares? Maybe like, we're never using you again.
No.
One of the things. So you've had to wear like so many hats, and one constant throughout, like it sounds like all your journeys is just like hard work, right? And you can control that. You can control how hard you work. But one thing that's always like interesting to me for people that have had success at your level and in multiple like different things is like, have you ever felt like just because you've worked hard, now all of a sudden you're a CEO of a company that's 1,000 people when you guys got acquired? Like, talk about like imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that word?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever, did you ever feel that kind of along the way? And it's just like, man, like, okay, I'm the CEO of all these people. And like, yeah, I was really good at like doing what I did to get it to this point, but like, I'm not a CEO, or I'm not like, can you speak to that maybe a little bit?
Another great question you asked me. Thank you for it.
Yeah.
That's why he's here.
No, and here's why it's good, because I think this is important for people to know. I was sitting there once we were acquired, like, oh my God, I get to now work with these brilliant minds,
right?
This public company, these people that know so much. I get to learn from them. And part of my attraction to selling to a public company was like learning that side of it, right? Within months, we had an activist investor. Do you guys know what that is?
Activist?
An activist investor.
No.
An activist investor are investors that will basically attack your company, and they're usually like Wall Street type people that are in Wall Street, and their whole purpose is to go find companies that are underperforming in their view, and they could go in and change the board around and do a hostile takeover, put in new management, increases the stock price, and then they get out of it and sell it. So it's horrible to be on the receiving end of that. I'll give you a great example. The activist investor that went after us was the same activist investor that ended up doing a hostile takeover for Olive Garden. And they wrote, you can find this, they wrote a thesis. I don't know how many pages it was overall, but there was at least 2 pages dedicated in this thesis about Olive Garden that they wrote, about how Olive Garden lost their way with customers because they don't put salt in the water with their noodles because it causes erosion of the pots. Okay. That's how detailed these guys get in businesses, meaning like they were saying, you care more about the pots getting corrosion than you do about the noodles that you're serving your customers.
Right.
That's how crazy, like, detailed it gets. So that same company was going after cars right after we were acquired. So that forced us to do things that I didn't even know were like on the table or anything before we got acquired. Long story short, I'm sitting in these board meetings.
Yeah.
Now we might get acquired. Now we're like facing all these different changes immediately after. And I was being brought into all these meetings as like the guy sitting next to the CEO. And at that point, I had major imposter syndrome for one meeting. And then I realized no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
No one knows what they're doing.
Everyone, I could run circles around that whole room.
Right.
And I was a kid that worked on the assembly line. I no MBA, no formal training. I was next to people that had McKinsey backgrounds, that worked at, had Harvard degrees. I could run circles over that entire room because of my background. And then I realized no one knows what they're doing.
Right.
And I will say, anyone listening to this podcast, if you think people know what they're doing, you give them way too much credit.
Right.
To this day, I walk into places and rooms and see experts and no, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like lucky enough to be on your podcast. Like no one knows what they're doing.
Right.
So don't overthink that. You'll have imposter syndrome, recognize it. I have it all the time. Let it go and just realize no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah. No, it's a good call out. I mean, there's certain probably aspects of like when I'm on the call with a bunch of like engineers or security architects where like they definitely can sniff out like an imposter or somebody who's trying to pretend like they know what they're saying because it is very technical. But yeah, I think especially from like a leadership role and like you're sitting at a table of a bunch of board of directors. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's a good reason too to get in the weeds. Like I love. They call it founder mode.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard this concept, but Brian Chesney talked about it. And the first time I heard it, it was on like a reel or something.
Yeah.
I started digging into it, and I'm like, oh my God, like someone else is saying what I think.
Yeah.
Like one-on-ones and like all this stuff that corporate America teaches is right.
Mm-hmm.
I felt was such a waste of time.
Yeah.
In the way it's done. Not to say like meeting someone one-on-one is not important. And that really kind of led me to like understand what this founder mode is, which is really like you have to understand your business. You have to be in the weeds. If someone asks me questions, you can really find out who knows their shit by drilling 2 levels deep.
For sure.
Everyone can say a sales pitch, but you start asking something, and to me, the best way to feel confident as a salesman, because you're always selling, is to know the business.
To know the business.
And you're passionate about it, you know it, like you can talk to it, and people feel that. Mm-hmm. So I was like a great salesman, even though I was the worst salesman because I didn't know any of the smart things to say, but people saw me as like, man, you're this Ford kid who like really cares and like it's gonna help me with their business. People care about how you make them feel.
100%.
That's what I tell my management team and employees. I'm like, they're not going to remember when you fix this thing in their wall. They're not going to remember how much they paid. They're not even remember what it looks like. The only thing they remember in 5 years is the way you and the company made them feel. Did they feel appreciated, wanted, taken care of? Obviously guys were, at your house. I don't know how you and your wife felt.
I was going to say that. Like I called you not even knowing that you, so I had like a ice dam issue in my house. Jeff knew anything about roofs. I was just like, hey, do you know anyone? Within an hour, he's at my house with guys.
Yeah.
Knowing exactly what to do. And I'm sitting there like, an hour later, my wife and I are on Google, and I'm like, this looks like a good metal roofing company. Like, I have no idea. Like,
for sure.
And she's sitting there like, who should I call? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I know a carpenter. Like, we haven't had to deal with some of the things in our house, And immediately Jeff's there and jumps on it and talking about made me look cool and for my wife too. Like,
So funny story about that. I told my brother-in-law, hey, Joe called. So I'll back up real quick. John Hennessy, Jack Daniels, Mark, another guy that owns Scooters Coffee. Vlad. They all said for like a year, you need to meet Joe. You need to meet Joe. You need to meet Joe. I'm like, okay. Like, I get that all the time. Like, oh, you should meet this guy. You should meet this guy. It's a lot. And I'm sure you get it too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, like I don't have time to meet everybody.
Right.
So I then start coaching your nephew and meet your brother and helped your brother with something. And me and your brother talked on the phone yesterday for about a half hour. Cool. And Mark, we're working out in the morning. Mark's like, dude, you should you got to talk to Joe. So I hit your brother up and I said, will you introduce me to your brother?
So you guys haven't known each other for all that long then?
No.
Oh, cool.
No.
Very cool.
And your brother, or you said to your brother, I'll meet with him as long as it's not a financial advisor. And I'm like, I don't need anything from him. Just it's good to have a good connection to a good person wanting to make a difference in the community. Like that's what I want. So after hearing about you and what you do, and I'm like, yeah, this is the guy I want to meet. So I told my brother-in-law, we're working out at your gym at Go Athletic. Met a couple times, showed me, the brewery. Obviously went to the brewery. The day after you and I met after the first time we worked out, I had a buddy hit me up. He's like, hey, do you want to go grab beer? I'm like, yeah, let's go to Go. So we three of us went to Go, and then someone made us some pizza there. So it was a good time. So I told my brother-in-law I was with you at that mental health video that you were showing, and that you called. And he goes, dude, you need to stop hanging out with people. If they find out, because it happens all the time with like Mike Brancheski and some other guys, when people find out, like I'll be with them one night, the next morning, hey, this happened. It happens all the time. I'm with them the night, and the next morning something happens. Dude, did you put towels down my toilet, or did you put a hole in my water?
Like when you end up hanging out with somebody, like something ends up happening with their house.
Yes, he's like, this has happened. I can't count.
So you're kind of bad
times.
luck.
Apparently,
nobody hang out with Jeff.
I guess not. So, we get to call about the ice damming, which we have taken care of numerous times. I mean, hundreds of homes. Had this issue at his house, which hopefully took care of really quick, and your wife was happy before the holidays here.
Awesome.
You're Johnny on the spot. That's where Jeff is. That's been your.
He's like one of those guys where you're like, is this guy real?
For real, yeah.
I don't
kind of do everything. Yeah.
It's just and you know this. We've done business with people and together. I am very conscious the way I make people feel. Yeah. Because I want people to have a good experience with
people. Well, it's the saying, at least in sales, people buy from people that they like ultimately, right? And obviously you have to have a good product, right? And you need to be accountable with, showing up on time and stuff like that. But those are all kind of like table stakes. But at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of competition and the market's really saturated. So a lot of people are showing up on time. A lot of people are accountable. A lot of people probably have maybe a similar product. So then it comes down to like, okay, I want to buy from you because I like you, right?
Yeah. And this actually, I will say, came from like Casper. There's people that I've been around in life who've helped me, but I'm like, I never want to be around that person again.
Yeah.
Like that was mentally draining. And being around someone like Kevin who pushed me, you know, physically and mentally, I'm like, I was attracted to that feeling, and I'm like, I want to be around that good experience. So I always thought I'm going to smile, so people, you know, just smile.
Yeah.
But I also kind of set out to, I want people to have a good experience around me.
For sure.
I want them to, I don't ever want someone to be like, oh, I gotta see that guy again. I'm sure some people do.
Well, in a services model like you have with a lot of what your business is so much about the whole experience, right?
Yeah, because anybody could be a plumber, anyone could be, you know, heating, cooling, anyone could be, you know, electrician. People are probably better than us, but if you have a good experience, that's what I want to give.
That's huge, man. It's huge. And
anytime I've had, you know, interactions at your company or with those people, it was a good experience. You want to be around those people, even at the gym. The people, the consumers there, the people working out, like everything has been a good experience. So
thank you.
It says something about you know, people. We'll wrap it up here soon. If you could give one piece of advice to someone that wants to be an entrepreneur, that is an entrepreneur, or wants to make a difference in the community.
I think there's
probably 2 or 3 different things.
Why not? Like, you know,
just go.
I mean, a lot of these answers will seem like hyperbole or cliche, but the reality is like, it's like, if not now, when? You know, what can you? There's ways to do all this stuff without risking a lot. And I think the first thing you need to evaluate is like, why do you want it? Like, why do you want to create something? Why do you want to, like, look at the why behind it?
Right.
And the reason why that's important is because it's such hard work that if you don't love it or you don't have like a reason that's deeper than some surface level thing, you're going to give up. And you're probably not going to learn as much. On the flip side is if you do care and you want to really make a difference, and you really love something, like think about Go today. I was telling someone this the other day, like if we had to close, I feel so proud of what I created in just a couple of years. And I wouldn't be closing because, and we're not closing. I was just thinking about like, if I had to do this, it wouldn't be like an embarrassing thing. You know how like you have this, there's a perception if a business closes, it's a failure, but that's not true at all. And the amount I've learned in this is insane. Like it's insanity. Like going to manufacturing, distribution partners. We have 70 distributors, like all tier 1, Anheuser-Busch, Miller.
You haven't said this yet, but you're saying a lot of this, and I keep thinking about it. Do you have the motto like go big or go home? Because everything you've done has been like big. You haven't done anything that's been at the, I don't want to say low level, but everything you've done has been very high level.
Yeah.
Do you live by that motto? Because I feel like
I created this, like it was funny because like people hear it and they're like, "Not a brewery, like is he fucking crazy? Like why would he do that?" And I get it. Like I get it. It was never about having a tap room. I love the fact that we do and we did, but it was never about that. That was just like a small corner of the business. The big business was manufacturing. And can we take, and this is a thing that every person should think about, what is the acceptable level of risk that you can take in your life to then start to do the thing that you want to do? And I would say that everyone has one. Some risks are lower, some are higher. My risk was a lot higher because I had financial success that I could take some of my own capital, invested in myself for this new idea that could have completely failed. But I did it in stages where stage 1 was, let's hire a brewer, let's bring him in my garage, and let's see if we can make a beer. So my potential like loss there was like his salary and some equipment that would fit in a garage.
Right.
Once we started to, and then I hired a couple more people in the garage. And then I had to brought in a consultant to like verify what I felt, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing, to say like, this is good beer. And we were measuring things off quantitative data. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, let's build a brewery.
It's like calculated scaling.
Exactly. So like the problem with manufacturing is the larger you get, the acceptable levels of risk are beyond what you can even do. Right. So now you got to raise money and in order to raise money, you have to hit certain numbers versus it was just like, if I had $1 billion, I guarantee Go would be even bigger than it is. I have to be very calculated about everything I do, and every dollar has to go to the right spot.
Yeah, like you're at the point now where like there is no like, hey, let's have a nice little mom and pop. It's like, hey, we're all in on manufacturing. Like, it's go big or go home.
And that was the intent from day one. Like, I never set out to not build a national or global beverage company. Right. Like, it was always about beer. I think I hate actually using that word, but the finesse game is like, oh, I have this platform that we talked about. I can make other things.
Yeah.
Where's the puck going now? Where is the puck today? Like the puck right now is NA, and it's like, wow, your timing was great. Well, you know what? I'm making electrolytes. I'm making some other stuff. I'm making dabbling in some microdose THC. Like there's all this stuff that doesn't cost me a lot more to try and to test online.
Right.
And that's where I think like we have a win. But like anyone who is looking to do something, just look at what's your acceptable level of risk, and that could be working at night on this thing that you want to do. And if every night you're like, hey, I didn't accomplish that thing, just remember there's always a reason not to do something. There's always is. And you just might want to just do a self-evaluation, say like, do I really want to do this thing? Mm-hmm. You know?
Is it true passion? Is it, someone said something the other day, is it, are you passionate about it, or you just want it? Just something you want?
Yeah, it goes back to like, I think, you know, I always used to hear a coach say like, nothing will change unless you do, right? So it's like, if you're, or like a goal without a plan is just a wish. If you think that you're going to go from like just where you're at to where you want to be, and it's just going to be like this quick thing, then that's never going to happen, right? But if you kind of take it like day by day, and it's like, okay, you didn't go from like, okay, I want to come up with this NA beer company, and then the next day have a manufacturing plant built, right? You went out of your garage and you did all like, you know, the appropriate steps to kind of get to that next step. And I think it's kind of that mindset of like, you know, things don't happen overnight, but like the barrier to entry is usually not all that high to try to at least put the best foot forward to do something. But it's got to start with doing something. And because if you don't try, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people want to start big right away.
Of course.
People think, you know,
instant gratification. Right?
Instant gratification.
It's our generation, and I'm guilty of it too, right? I want things to happen way faster than what they probably should, and maybe sometimes it's worked out for me, and other times it hasn't. But it definitely provides some learning lessons.
The magic happens in the monotony and the boredom and the 15 seconds at a time for 5 years, right? That's the magic, and on the surface you don't see that. You just see, oh, look at this guy that sold this company for bunch of money, not the tears that you and I probably shed at night, or thinking about payroll, or like, oh, I got to pay Google, you know, $10 million, or I got to make my payroll right now, you know, and you're just like, okay, what do you do?
Right.
Do your clients' ads get shut down, or do you make payroll? Well, that's an obvious thing. You make payroll, like you figure it out, you know. But it's like there's so much that the only way that you can figure it out is by like taking those steps. Because if you try to overanalyze it, like you're in great shape, right? You work out. I'm sure you meet a lot of people that ask you for fitness advice. Mm-hmm. What if they were like asking questions about like 3 years from now? Like your response to them is what? Like, go to the gym tomorrow.
Right.
Like,
just show up.
Yeah.
What's the point of talking about it? Like, there's no point. Like, you can build on it. Like, I want to run a triathlon. I want to run an Ironman. Great. Have you run a 5K? No. Let's start there.
Yeah, let's start there.
Same thing.
For sure. Where I think maybe just my last question is kind of like what's the trajectory looking like for Go? What's the kind of the goal? Mm-hmm. What's that look like?
The goal is to fill out the rest of the United States next year. So we're in 31 states, as I mentioned. We're trying to get parts of Northern California. When I say like fill out the rest of the state, we sell online across the U.S. Right. We're on Amazon. It's getting distribution in these places.
How do you get distribution? Do you sales guys?
Well, now it is you have to have a data story. initially the data story was our online sales, and then taking that to a retailer that takes a chance on you. Then you take that data and go to the next retailer.
But how do you reach out to them? Is it a sales guy going and talking to them, or?
Well, that's the thing. You build a team of people that know how to do this stuff. Like, it would have taken me many years to figure it out. But I mean, a lot of it's common sense, but it's like who you know, and just like any industry, there's a lot of nuance in it. So I hired really good people. I have a really good sales leader, had 18 years experience in the beverage category, knows a lot of people. It's like Kevin Bacon from every buyer, and then you talk to the buyer. Like the initial conversations with Costco came up because my team knew them, but they also went past our billboards 17 times and were curious because it said "fuck beer pressure," and they're like, "Who would write that?"
That you strategically placed.
Yeah, that I just happen to know because you got to create your own luck, But that's how it happens.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to put it, is create your own luck. But that takes work, consistency, like going to the gym every day. Not one good workout, just 5 okay workouts.
You got to do things to create your own luck. Like creating your own luck isn't sitting on your couch or
scrolling
or
mindlessly.
Yeah, or like
complaining.
It all has to do with taking action. Again, it's like hard to. I feel like every Instagram person in the world right now saying this stuff, but like, it's true. Like, if I didn't take those 15 seconds, would I have had the opportunity with Willis Chin to give me an opportunity for me to create my own luck to get a job at Ford? No, I would never be put in that position.
Right.
So
you took advantage of an opportunity, and So are you guys backed by VC? VC backed?
We have a venture capital group. I just closed my seed rounds.
Congratulations!
Like a week ago. Thank you.
Series A?
No, seed.
Oh, seed round.
Seed round.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just closed that, and Listen Ventures is who backed Factor, the Call Map, Angels Envy, some big brands. They are our only VC. Mm-hmm. And then we have, I'm the majority investor in the company, my own cash. And then we have a family office. And then we have another pretty well-known person that just invested in the company that hopefully I could.
Frank Zito?
Mr. Wonderful?
Frank Zito?
Yeah. In our sports world.
Cool.
That you might know. So that's what it is. It's a very small cap table. I didn't want to have it really large, meaning like cap table is how many people have invested in it, like what capital do you have and who owns it. And then I have a couple partners that have been with me since day one, and they've been awesome. So we have that, and then we have a separate contract manufacturing business too that we've invested in to then produce a lot of the product that Go makes, but we control the whole thing.
Right. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and taking time out of your day, spend 2.5 hours. Recording with us.
No, it's amazing how fast the time flew, and you guys asked a lot of good questions. Thanks for peeling the layer a bit too.
Hopefully we hit on some of the things that you wanted to talk about too, and it wasn't just us asking questions for our own understanding.
No, I like when you guys you kind of dive into things that I think the audience can get value from. I could go on a tangent for an hour about one of those things, right? I could talk about exactly how to get acquired, or like exactly how we got acquired, and that could be an hour podcast in itself. But I try to stay on the surface level and pay attention to what you're digging into. Yeah. And then that way I can answer questions, but I don't go there unless
for sure
asked. You know what I mean? Because it's too much.
Too much.
What are you talking about?
Some people just keep talking. You're like, hold on, let's step
Well, there's
back.
a million stories in these stories.
Go down
and
a
it's just
hole.
you could have been you could be interested in the back stuff. Like, oh my God, what happened? You know what I mean? But and that could have been the whole thing on. Don't take drugs, like pain relievers, and all of a sudden we could have been on a tangent for an hour.
And we could. I don't know if you want to close.
Yeah, we'll close it out. So I appreciate coming on, and hopefully someone learned something from this today. You have anything you want to add? Just smile.
If you are in the area, the best thing you could do is try Go Brewing at any retail location or bar or restaurant. That means the world to us, honestly. I can't tell you how much it means. And I don't know when this is coming out, but we're launching Costco soon. So supporting a local business and I'll keep plugging away, and just really an honor to even be sitting with you guys here and to be on this podcast, honestly.
Yeah.
We appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.